So we're going to talk about Sitecore Experience Accelerator. So who here has ever had a project go and you build the site and then the customer asks, well, where's all the cool stuff? Where's all the profiling? Where's all the personalization? All that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, sorry, we used all your budget building the site and don't have time. That was phase 2, right? And that's kind of the mythical phase 2 that you always hear about. But before we get started on SXA, I wanted to talk about a couple of options for connecting with the Sitecore community. One, if you're not aware of these, they're both great opportunities to connect with the community. All the MVPs are out there and everything. First is Slack. We have over 2,000 users. There's I don't know, 30, 40 channels of different on different topics, and it's a great resource for connecting with people live, chatting back and forth and things like that. We do send out invitations for this because we try to keep recruiters out. So if you'll just go to bit.ly/Sitecore Slack, so it's a Google Docs form, fill it out. It'll send us a message and we'll create the account. Also, I want to talk about Stack Exchange. So we've got about 7 or 8 months ago, Mark Cassidy started up the proposal for a new Stack Exchange site dedicated to Sitecore, because there's thousands of questions on Stack Overflow, but the kind of the moderation and the way things, the way those questions go, it really wasn't as open as we'd liked it to be. So we created a Stack Exchange site for dedicated for Sitecore. We've got over 1,800 users, 2,000 plus questions, even more answers. So it's another great resource for Q&A on Sitecore. So let's talk about the build process first. And when I say build process, I'm not talking about continuous integration. I'm not talking about continuous deployment, all those kind of nerdy things that we developers like. What I'm talking about is the build process for building your site. What is, how does that build process affect getting your customer's site live? How does it affect time to market? A typical build process, it looks something like this. You start off with the user experience. The user experience folks, the engineers, they go create wireframes in whatever wireframing tool they want and decide, which side of the page there should be a menu, or where's the right place to put a button, or something like that. So they do all the user experience design. And then once they're done, it moves on to visual design. They make it look pretty with the fonts and the colors and the pictures of cats and things like that. Then when they've completed their stuff, it moves on to front-end dev. And there might be some iterative process in here, but typically it kind of runs linearly. And then it goes to back-end devs that take what the front-end devs do and integrate it into Sitecore. And then you get to content entry, which was where it all just grinds to a halt. It's the part that takes the longest, right? So this might be a typical time to market for a large site. It just kind of drags it out. So there's no time left for that mythical phase 2, where you get all the cool stuff, all the personalization, all the profiling and things like that. So what if we could optimize that process? What if we could really start to stack up some of these things and run them a little more in parallel and reduce that time to market? We'd have different phases of our project would run in parallel, because now you've got user experience happening, almost in lockstep with visual design, because it's all done in the wireframing mode of SXA. And it all just, you can kind of condense it all. But the most important part is content entry can start a whole lot sooner. So as soon as you've got wireframes out there, now they can start to enter actual content into the Sitecore content tree. They can put images in, they can put content, and anything like that. So that's kind of the biggest piece to this whole thing, is content entry starts so much faster. So, if you can optimize this process, you spend less time and budget simply building the site, leaving more time for the cool stuff. Well, that's the next bullet point. Leaving more time available for configuring some of these more advanced marketing features. We're kind of giving a lot of power to because we're shrinking this time to market down. We are allowing the marketing organization to adapt to market changes quicker. They can spin up a whole new site a lot faster. They can add new pages a lot faster with the toolkit that's there. And then most importantly, they start realizing the return on the investment that they made in the platform a whole lot sooner. So this is where Sitecore Experience Accelerator comes in. So a few of the key features to Sitecore Experience Accelerator is there is a built-in information architecture. So this might be very similar to the IA that you have done previously. I mean, we at RBA have had something not quite the same as this, but very similar. So I'm sure a lot of you have similar things, similar ways you organized content. But this kind of comes when you create a new site, it scaffolds all this for you. So it just kind of optimizes it a bit. There's the new wireframing mode. So this is where your UX architects can actually go in and start wireframing up the site. And when they're putting in these banner images, or when they're putting in these the page content or the calls to action or whatever, they're actually building the page itself that's going to be the live page eventually. So when customers start to do content entry, they're going to be doing content entry in the actual page. There's a new page architecture. So the idea here is we're able to kind of package up components and as a component itself. So for instance, we've got a header, we've got a footer, and we've got the body of the page. So in this case, the header has actually got an image in it, and it's got a menu in it, and it might have some other stuff. It might have a second menu or something, whatever it is. But in the past, natively, Sitecore didn't allow you to package up that bundle of components as one unit to stick on a page. You had to, unless you built it yourself, or unless you used Score from BrainJox or what was formerly Zen Garden, they both did that. Or if you built it yourself. But natively, there was no way to do that. So now in SXA, you can do that with partial designs. And then you can, and we'll see this in a few minutes, but then you can take those partial designs and package them up as page designs. So you make it a lot easier for your content authors. And naturally, we've got drag and drop components now. So we've got a list of, Lars said 200, I count 70, I don't know, components. You've got a whole bunch of components that come out of the box, right? And you can drag and drop these onto the page where they go. No, you don't have to any longer click the add here button to bring up the thing, and it's just so much easier. You've got the drag and drop components. And then you've also got a new thing called rendering variants. So rendering variants are kind of what make SXA make it so much more flexible, because you can take the same component. We've got the page list here. I've got two versions of it, and I'm pointing it to a data source. And just through configuration in the content tree, I can have it with one variant just display the title of the page as a link, and then with another variant, I can have it display the title and the description. So I'll show you how to configure those in a few minutes. But this gives you a whole lot of flexibility so we don't have to build two components that are virtually the same, just a little different. It's all configuration. And what makes kind of this whole thing possible with with allowing content authors to get in and enter content in the kind of that wireframing mode. What makes that whole thing possible is Creative Exchange. So Creative Exchange allows you to take that wireframing template, that wireframing style, export that all to a static site, hand that off to your front-end developers. Then your front-end developers go off and do all their CSS magic and things that I don't quite understand. But they're able to do that kind of off on their own while you're building the site. And then when they have done all their magic, then you can import that back in. If they change images, it updates the content item in Sitecore. If they change, make new CSS classes, it all gets updated and imported back into Sitecore. So you may have heard that there is a new version of SXA available. It released, last month, I think, Adam? 1.3 was released. It had a lot of great new updates in it. So let's talk about a few of those. First, let's chat about CSS grids. So in version 1.2 and before, there was only one CSS grid supported. It was the 960 grid system. So you might think, well, what's the 960? Why don't you support Bootstrap? Why don't, everybody uses Bootstrap, So they gave you more grid support. So in 1.3, you now have duplicated a slide. So in 1.3, not only do you still have access to the 960 grid system, you also have access to Bootstrap and the Foundation. And you can choose these when you when you spin up a new site, and I'll show you this in just a minute, but when you spin up a new site, you can choose which grid that you want your site to use. And you can even, for different devices, support different grids. I'm not exactly sure why you would do that, but it's abstracted that way, so it's supported. Again, I'm not a front-end guy. Also, another key feature added in 1.3 is the idea of data modeling. So what this does is if you've got single-page applications, or if you've got a web application that's just getting JSON, SXA supports this kind of JSON data modeling now. So essentially what they did is in 1.3, they added a new JSON layout and a new JSON device. So just like you had your default device for web, you've got your RSS, your feed device for RSS feeds, things like that. They added a new device for JSON. You can edit this content in Experience Editor, just like anything else. You just go into Experience Editor, go to the Experience tab, switch the device from, it's probably in default mode by default, go figure. Switch that to the JSON device, and now you have the ability to edit the JSON directly. It also supports, just like other components, it supports the idea of variants. So on the left-hand side, we've got the default variant for the JSON rendering that's just showing title and content. And then on the right-hand side, we've also got it showing description. So it supports variants as well. So some of the other improvements in 1.3, to help with responsive layout design, the toolbar was docked on the right-hand side. It used to kind of float on the left-hand side or even dock on the left-hand side. But now it's docked on the right to not get in the way of responsive layout. You can now also, it supports semantic HTML tags in layouts and variants. So previously, tags like article or header or footer, some of these semantic type tags weren't supported, but those are now supported. And you can also specify personalization rules on rendering variants. That's something that wasn't there before. So now let's switch to a demo. And let me pull up, I have a site. This is actually going to be kind of fun here. Let me turn my, because the way we've got the Google Hangouts recording things, it's only looking at that screen. So here I've got, and this is kind of small. Let me see if I can do something about that. That's probably better. So here I've got a site spun up that already has, I've already created a tenant and a tenant folder and a tenant, and there's already a site in there, but I'm going to spin up a new one. So the idea behind tenants and tenant folders is SXA does support multi-tenant and multilingual and all of those things out of the box. And for organizational purposes or for security purposes, you know, if you're just one big multinational company, you can have many verticals. So there's a way to kind of organize that into, you know, you can group things into tenant folders, things like that to apply security is one way to utilize that. But so I've got my Acme Corporation. And I've got the corporate, let's just say it's the corporate vertical, so it's all the stuff that doesn't make money. So let me just go and spin up a new site. So I'm going to right-click on the corporate tenant, and I'm going to choose Site. And all of this is based on Sitecore PowerShell extensions. So all of the dialogues that you see here, all of the scaffolding it does, is all built on PowerShell extensions. So I am going to call this new site Human Resources. All of these fields are basically the site definition. So if we wanted to give it a unique host name, like hr.acmecorp.com or something like that, you could specify that here. Or if it was going to a different virtual folder, you could specify that there as well. So where's my mouse? There we go. So I've got the Human Resources site name. On the Features tab, we've got all of the features that are available. Now, for this demo, I just enabled all of them, but what you see here is you can see at either the tenant level or at the site level, you can enable or disable different features. So if you've got some outside marketing agency that helps you out with building just a landing page for some short-term campaign, or some kind of microsite that's just kind of dealt with by these few people over here, you can say, well, they don't need events, they don't need you know, content tokens or something. You know, you can kind of choose which features are available to them, and you can do that at the tenant level or the site level. So I'll just leave everything selected there. I am going to create a new theme for this. So this is my Human Resources theme. And then this fourth tab, this is a new tab for 1.3. On this one, I'm going to just go ahead and select Bootstrap. And I'm going to let this go. So it takes just a, you know, it doesn't take long, but what it's doing now is it's scaffolding up all of the information architecture for the content. It's putting in all the stuff in the media, all the folders and everything needed in the media library to support the theme. All of that is being scaffolded up during this process. Oh, please don't die. This worked twice yesterday. See, Adam, this is the problem that I was having with it. No, it's not licensed that way. I'm using my partner license, so I think, yeah. So when this has happened before, only way for me to get this back is to bounce IIS. And even then, I'm not sure that it's going to do everything right. So bear with me just a minute. I apologize for this. Right. So how y'all doing today? Just kind of kill some time. Weather's nice. It stopped raining.
Can I ask you a question in the meantime?
Sure.
You talked about the export and the import.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this work with versioning? Like you give something to the front-end developers, because you make an export.
Mm-hmm.
They're working, you're also working. You do a new export.
Mm-hmm.
They will they hate you for it? Because something changed and breaks on their end or whatever.
Well, usually what you would do is, and we're just kind of going through our first, at RBA, going through our first port over to SXA. And what we're finding is it's easiest to, if you do need to make another export, import all of the changes from the front end devs first, and then export that back out. So you're not overwriting anything that they've got, things like that. All right, let's see if this worked. All right, I'm just going to kind of live on a prayer that this actually finished doing everything it was supposed to before it died. So we see here we've got our new human resources site. So what I'm going to do first, as I've got some warm up some content over here, I'm going to create a couple of pages. Page, let's call this one benefits. Insert another one and call this personal info. Drag that up. And then on these pages, I'm going to just drop in some content so they have something on them. Drop that on there, and then I'm gonna go down to the meta description. This is for the meta description field for the head tag for SEO. I'll say that view information about your benefits. Save that. Personal info and view and update for personal information. And on the home page, I'm going to drop some content in there as well. This isn't very good for big screens. All right, so I've got some content in there. So now, what I'm going to do before I start working on the pages themselves, I talked about the idea of partial designs and page designs earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of partial designs. So in the presentation node of our human resources site, under partial design, I'm going to create a new one. Nope, not a folder. Insert partial, call this one header. I'm going to create a new one called footer. And I'm going to create a third one called article body, because I'm going to end up creating an article page. So article body. So now to edit these individual partial designs is the same process you would go through for editing a page. So I just select the header because that's where I'll start, and go to and open up Experience Editor. And when this opens up, this is essentially just bringing up Experience Editor so you can add, excuse me, presentation details for the header partial. Okay, so I guess living on a prayer didn't help because my components aren't there. Let's see if I can do this the old-fashioned way. Normally, you can drag and drop components onto placeholders. Let's see if I can. So this is going to be a much nastier. This isn't the way it normally looks, but I'll try to keep it simple. So let's go. It's under image. The first one, media. That's it. Media, and I'm going to choose a reusable image. Crap! It didn't even put. Okay, so how about we try this? Let's see if I try it again, if it'll do it. Come up with a really original name. Create a new theme. Say to theme. Support Bootstrap. And we'll all collectively cross our fingers. This is where it would die previously. Aha! We all crossed our fingers. Of course, I guess it's not done yet. Normally goes a little faster than this. But since we're all watching the water boil, and I'll try to shorten up this demo so we don't run out of time. I don't know how we're even doing on time. All right. So I've got 15 minutes left. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to run through this quick. So I'm not actually going to do anything with those subpages other than I wanted something there. So let's do, one of them was benefits. And I wanted something on description. Information about your benefits. One more quick page. And I can't type personal info. View your personal info. Drag that up. So I'm going to create a couple of partials. I won't create them all. I'll just create the header and the body. Header, you'll get the idea. Header, and then cool. All right, so let's go again, open up Experience Editor for our header partial. And hopefully we'll have our components. Hey, look at that. So in this, we've got our 3 placeholders that are there by default. We've got header, we've got main, and we've got footer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to media and drag the reusable image onto into that header placeholder. And what this is giving me the opportunity to do is the images folder that it's showing me there is a global data folder. So it's for reusable content items. So we've got the images folder here. That's what it's pointing to. So I want to create a new one. I'll call this logo. And let's go select an image. Select an image for that logo. Normally I put a menu in there too, but we'll just kind of save some time. So I've got the header partial is in there. And then I'm going to go to also in the Experience Accelerator tab here, we can also edit other partials. So clicking on the partial designs button here, I can go choose, in our case, let's go directly to edit the article body. So what I want to do here is I want to take this main placeholder and I'm going to split it up some. So you have the idea of column splitters and row splitters, things like that, so you can split it up. So I'm going to put a column splitter in the main body. And then I'm going to change the column width. So these are all the bootstrap column numbering system. So this will essentially be kind of a left rail type page. So there will be, the main content will be kind of on the right-hand side, and then there'll be a menu on the left. So what I also want is I want page content. I want to put a page list in this left-hand column. And then that's all I'm going to do for the article body. And is whenever we create an article page, it's going to have a page list on the left. Page content will be on the, well, whatever we place on the page, and I'll show you that in a second. So now let's switch back to, where's my mouse? Let's switch back to presentation. We edit our partial designs. Now let's create a page design. So we're going to create a page design called article page. And then in here, in this designing section, it'll ask us which partial designs we want to be included on this page. So I'm going to choose header. Let's go ahead and include metadata and article body. Normally, I'd have footer in there, but I'm trying to save some time. So now let's go to our, now that we've got this article page, let's go use it. So I'm going to go to the home page and open this up in Experience Editor. And because we haven't done anything to the home page yet, it's still got the standard 3 placeholders there. But if we go to on the Experience Accelerator tab, we can pick a page design and choose article page. And this should get down to the OK button. Save this. A really big image, and we'll fix this with Creative Exchange shortly. But what I've got is I've got my header, I've got my page list on the left. Because I'm using this this page design, I can't actually, and I'm on a home page that's using it, I can't actually edit those components. That's part of the overall page design for that. But what I do have is I do have this placeholder in kind of the main body of the page. So what I want to do is on the home page, I want to add a title component. And then I'm going to add page content to that placeholder. And I forgot to put content on the home page. So let's put a little content there. Let's overwrite something. Oh well, I'll go redo it. So you'll get to see this twice. So we'll pick the article page. Save that. And we've got our title, and the page content for that page is showing up here. So one thing I noticed is I put a page title here, but it's kind of small. So thank you. It's kind of small, but we can change that with rendering variants. So in our new site 2, we can go down to rendering variants, and that title that we were that title component, alt rendering variant that's there for that component. So what I'm going to do is, for SEO reasons, I want that title to be an H1. I want search engines to see that. So I'm going to duplicate that existing rendering variant. And now on my title field, so this is the actual field that's going to get rendered. I'm going to change that tag from div to H1. You also see we've got semantic tags in here. So you got article, aside, header, footer, all of those kind of things that I was mentioning earlier. So let's make that an H1 tag. Save that. And let's go change this variant. So now we select our title, and now we can choose in this variant drop down any, right now we just have the 2 rendering variants, but you could come up with as many as you want. So I'm going to select H1, and now it's an H1 tag. So I was going to go do something with the page list also, but in the interest of time, I won't. So let's see, where was I next? All right, so the last thing I want to do is quickly, I've only got a few minutes left. I want to show Creative Exchange and kind of how that works. So I'm going to switch to our new Site 2 theme. So thought I did. I'm going to switch to that theme, and then I'm going to, using Creative Exchange, I'm going to export that as static HTML, static CSS, static content to a zip file that I can send to my front-end devs. So let's choose from the Creative Exchange ribbon chunk here. I'm going to select the default device. I'm going to select to export the whole site. You can do just a single page or a branch of pages to export, but I'm going to do the whole site for now. And I'm going to choose to go to a zip file. If you're working with a team of front-end developers, you might send this to a folder, something that's probably under source control, something like that, rather than passing around zip files. But for this, I'll just send it to a zip file. So it's zipped everything up. Let's download that. And then I'm going to extract that zip file. And I've got 5 minutes left, so I'll try to do this quickly. So what I've essentially got here is we've got our 2 pages that we have on there. We've got our home page, which is index, and then under this dash folder, this kind of goes down into the media library structure. So I'm going to dig into my Acme tenant folder, corporate site, new site 2, the theme, and images. I have another image. Desktop. Here's all my fun images that I use. Some didn't get used, like this cute little puppy. I'm going to paste this in here. And, oops. Okay, so I already pasted that in. And then I'm also going to go edit some just a quick little CSS class. So if I dig down to the styles folder, so here's all the individual CSS classes that are part of that theme. I'm just going to go ahead and edit main.css and add a class at the bottom, main logo, width 120. Killer CSS skills. And the last thing I'm going to do is go all the way back up to my home page, which is index.html. Edit that in Notepad. And this is all the static HTML that would get rendered for that particular page. So here I've got the image for our logo, our company logo on the top left. Here I'm going to change this to the name of our new logo. And then if I come up to this div tag right here, you see they've got the add your CSS classes here. I'll replace that with main logo. We'll see that will get imported. So now that we've changed that, let's go ahead and I'm going to pass this back as a zip file. So send it to updated, oh, whatever. So import that back in and we'll see those changes. So let's upload our file. This one. Upload it. And then we'll select that file and let that import. And what this does is each one of those, each one like that image, the logo image that I changed, I should have pointed it out, but it actually has a data dash attribute on it that's got the ID of that item. So that's how it knows. That's how it knows to re-import that, update that image to that actual content item. So now that I've imported my changes, should be able to refresh. Okay, well, something went wrong. It didn't actually change my image, but we can at least see that the main.css was updated because it used to be really big and now it's small. So I apologize that there were some problems with kind of how that whole demo went. It used to be smooth, but the last thing I will do is switch back to my presentation. Next steps. SXA 1.3 does require 8.2 update 3. It does require PowerShell extensions 4.5. Go download SXA 1.3 and then kind of get to building. Kind of rushing through the end here. If you need any more information about this, the doc site for Sitecore they do have a lot of great information on SXA. So go to the doc site for SXA. Also, if you're looking for information just on development in general, I did write a book on getting started with that. So I'll just ask for questions.
We have a little time left. 1-2 questions. So yeah.
Especially if you have already a lot of sites on your site, for instance, can you then use SXA for new sites in the same environment, or did you see from your experience any issues with that?
We haven't brought it into an existing environment yet. If you want to use it for, if you can't use it on an existing site, but if you wanted to create a new site using SXA, I don't see why you couldn't. You can. Okay.
We
Yeah.
tried.
You can.
No.
Oh, you.
Officially you can, but actually you can't. Dynamic place.
From 1.0 to 1.3? I don't know from 1.0. I bet you Adam could tell you, but I do know in 1.3 they do have an upgrade tool to go from 1.2 to 1.3 way back to 1.0.
Okay. Big grab Jason afterwards if you have more questions. Great sessions. I really enjoyed it. I mean,
Jeez.